Bitcoin, crypto, the stock market, everything is crashing right now. We're going to talk today's show about why that is happening and also what is the best strategy for you guys out there who have not sold just yet. At the moment, as I'm saying these words, Bitcoin is reaching some targets we've been talking about for the last week and some change. Is it time to buy or is it time to sell everything after the next bounce? Is a recession on the doorstep? Make sure to stick around all the way till the end of the show. It's going to be a good one today. Some concepts and some conversations a lot of people aren't going to like to have, but if you want to make money, you need to be prepared for a whole lot of things here. Make sure if you enjoyed today's show to smash that like button and hit subscribe. But first, we got to roll the intro. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into the Investing Bros live show. It's 3 p.m. My camera and Wi-Fi seem to be working as Smay is controlling the show today. For those of you who don't know, I had a special edition morning live stream where my camera didn't work the entire time I was live. It was blurry. It was faded. It was all over the place. But I'm excited to talk today through what is going on and talk through some strategies, what to expect over the next little bit. But first, let me introduce these two fine-looking gentlemen sitting with me on today's show. I got Smay down here in the bottom right with the sunglasses. Smay, how are we doing today?
I wasn't going to wear sunglasses this week, but now I have to because it's going to hide my tears.
Oh, true. Good.
This free agency has not been kind to me as a Steelers fan, as you guys may know. I'll be honest with you, I was excited about the whole DK Metcalf, woo, and then we now have no good QB to throw to him. So.
Yeah. Well, at least you're not invested in crypto, right?
Oh, yeah. Crypto, all right? That'd be terrible.
Tshroom, back from vacation. It's good to see you again. I was going to say you're looking tan down there in Tampa, but you kind of look the same. How you doing? How was the weekend?
I'm doing better than I deserve, Tim. I did get a tan. It might not be coming through with this lighting configuration, but I had a ton of fun. Got to play some golf. Got to see Shane Gillis live in concert. Great comedian, not PG, but it was a lot of fun. And, now we're just back at the battle station trying to figure these markets out, get our head around the tailwinds, and just really understand what might be coming next and what good strategies there are to employ at these low levels.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot to talk about here today. Again, we're going to talk through the strategies. How are we dealing with this bear market? What are our plans going forward? I'm going to talk about some buy levels today. I'm not going to make you guys smash the like to see some trade setups that I'm working on. These are trade setups I've already put into our VIP trading group. We discussed them in depth, when to trigger, what to look for, how to go into it. So if you want to join our VIP trading group later, that is fine. But I will give you guys the next couple of interesting levels for Bitcoin that I'm looking to buy. Maybe if we get into the Q&A section, you guys want to take a look at some altcoins, we'll talk there as well. But I'll just be honest with you, until Bitcoin finds its footing here, until the markets decide to give us a bottom signal that's firm, altcoins are just going to continue to follow Papa Bitcoin. But before we get into the details on those charts and the strategies and the levels that I'm looking at, I want to throw it to Tshroom to give us our minute-long news rundown of the day. Tshroom, What is happening today? What do people need to know about?
Well, Tim, there's a couple of breaking news headlines here. It's going to be a lot of news, so strap in, folks. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says the U.S. will see more inflation over the next 6 to 9 months. And we have some opinion from the European Union claiming President Trump's support for crypto could harm Europe's monetary sovereignty and financial stability. Some interesting friction starting to form as crypto becomes the battlefield. Ontario, back domestic to North America. Ontario is raising electricity export tariffs to the U.S. by 25%, affecting Minnesota, Michigan, and New York. VanEck spot Solana ETF registers in Delaware, a bullish headline there for Solana. And this is a big one here. The acting SEC chairman, Mark Yoda, is seeking to remove the cryptocurrency section from a proposed rule that broadens the definition of exchanges requiring registration and oversight, and has directed staff to explore ways to shorten the cryptocurrency portion of that legislation. So this is essentially bullish, one of those incremental kind of in the weeds bullish movements for crypto legislation. And it's going to free up exchanges to do a little more than they were able to do before. Pro Bitcoin Pierre Polivere's path to victory shines brighter as Polymarket gives him a 64% chance to win Canada's next federal election in October 2025. This shift comes after Mark Carney wins the race to replace Trudeau as leader of the Liberal Party, which will also make him Prime Minister of Canada. You can see there's that Polymarket spread showing that Pierre is well ahead and double than the next up, Mark Carney. So that's for the federal election is what this spread is showing. But make no mistake, Mark Carney is on pace here. He has been elected as the new party leader for the Liberals, also making him the temporary prime minister there in America's hat. All right. Coinbase launches 24-hour perp futures trading in the U.S. A lot of news. There's a bullish headline. Japan's 20-year government bond yield reaches its highest level since 2008. We may talk about this later in the show, but if we don't, take a look at that. Since September, this thing has just gone on an absolute tear, up more than 93%. This is not the bond value, folks. This is the yield. This is the yield for those bonds. So it's a little bit troubling there for the Japanese bond system. A lot of questions to be answered there. Spain's second largest bank, BBVA, gets approval to launch Bitcoin trading and custody services. Michael Saylor to raise up to 21 billion USD to buy more. You guessed it, Bitcoin. Saylor is buying the dip. And finally, you may have noticed X was down. Musk has confirmed that X is under a massive cyber attack. So I'm sure we'll have more details on that at some point in the future. But Tim, have you experienced X kind of being down today at all?
Couple of times. It's not just been once. I feel like it'll get working again, and then I'll be using it for like 20 minutes, and all of a sudden it stops loading again. So I think I saw a tweet out there that is it anonymous, that the hacking company, they have taken credit for it. I never really understand why they come out and just take credit for it and don't let the investigation take its place off. But yeah, so that is happening right now. It's absolutely something that's frustrating as we heavily use X. I think Elon said it. I completely agree. X right now is the number one platform for truly getting your news. I know there's a lot of information out there. I know that obviously people can use the X platform to promote, fake news. But let's be honest, we've been used to the mainstream media. A lot of us know how to sniff out fake news when we see it. X is my go-to way to understand what is happening, what's the current trend, what is going on. And so it's been a frustrating day researching the markets and what's happening in the news with X going in and out and in and out and in and out. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think about X? Do you agree? Is it the best form of news in the world right now, or do you still go with the mainstream media? Let me know down below. Tshroom, any other news stories we need to be aware of before we move into some charts and some data?
I think that we were chock full there with plenty of news. We'll definitely dive into some more of these headlines here later in the show. Big movements in Canada. The X platform having some downtime, as we talked about. Some shots being fired from Europe across to Trump in the White House about crypto. Actually, this time. So there's just a whole lot going on, Tim, and this is just Monday. It's going to be an interesting week for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing that we're kind of going to get into during the show. We're going to talk a little bit about the stock market as well. There was a time period where Bitcoin was being suppressed, crypto was being suppressed, price was moving down, despite the fact that the stock market was still rallying to the upside. Well, now we joined forces, right? The stock market's falling, and some people might have said, oh, does that mean crypto's going to go the opposite too? No, crypto keeps falling. Stock market's falling. Liquidity is leaving out. I'll tell you why, though, that might be a good thing down the road. But I want to answer a question from chat really quickly, and then we're going to get into some charts and look at some data and details. Vegas Meister, I think is how you say that last one. He said, this might be the shortest bull run we had. It's not just might. Again, if the bull run is over, this absolutely is the shortest bull market in the history of Bitcoin. You know what that means, though? Again, we're talking worst case potential right now because I'm not ready to concede that the bull market's over. I'll explain to you why here in a little bit. Some of you guys are going to get tired of it, but it needs to be said. But logic and reason must be used when looking at the markets. But let's pretend the bull market is over. Let's pretend the bear market is here and we drop back down anywhere between like 60K to 30K, right? That's going to be the realistic target. Not a very bearish bear market, 60K. A more extreme bear market, I think 32 is about the bottom of where we're going. Of course, everyone's favorite bears are going to tell you 10K and 3K are back on the menu. I disagree, but to each his own. If this was the shortest bull market in the history of cryptocurrency, guess what would follow afterwards? The shortest bear market, right? So we've been falling now for a couple of months, at least since January now. So we're coming up on 3 months to the downside. If the bear market is here, if we do go sub 70K and make our way somewhere between 60 and 30, it probably will be over by the summertime. That's, of course, worst case scenario. Like I said, let's zoom in here for a second on Bitcoin. We're going to bounce back and forth between a couple things here. We have been watching this target since last week, or a week and some change ago. If you guys remember, we talked about how 90K was a strong support level. You guys, right here first, hand up. We thought 90K would hold. Or I'm not even going to say we. I'm not going to speak for Tshroom or Smay or Crux. They can speak for themselves. Tim Morin, this guy right here, I thought that 90K would hold. You know what happened? I was wrong. Yep, it happens. And I was wrong. But I told you guys that if we lost 90K, that more than likely filling the CME gap all the way down here, down towards 77,300 would be the next area to watch. Why is that? Well, let's go to the Bitcoin CME futures, and you're going to see we're almost full here. We're not quite done yet, but you're going to see a little bit of, I don't want to call it misinformation. I want to call it a misunderstanding out there. Some people are acting as if when you look at this gap, all right, so let me zoom this out a little bit. You can see back here on November, let's go to the daily chart. This is going to be the better one to look at. Let's go to the daily here. You can see November 8th, okay? The markets close over the weekend. On November 8th, which is a Friday, Bitcoin closed out at 77,300, and let's see what the exact closing was, 77,360, okay? Now, during that day, during that Friday, we did wick all the way up here to 77.8, and some people are going to try to tell you, well, that means the gap comes all the way up here. Well, not technically. Technically, the gap starts where the day closed. So if anyone before the end of the day who didn't catch these higher levels put in a buy order or a sell order or any type of order, in between this gap, they never got filled, right? Because when we opened up on Monday, we opened up all the way up here at 81,000 and almost 100, right? Or almost 200, right? Massive gap forming. That's what this orange box is signaling. And on the CME futures, while we are very, very close, we haven't quite made it. Why? Because even though we've come below the wick, you go to where the candle body closed on the Friday. That is your area you're looking at. We are extremely close, but not quite there yet. But we did tell you a couple of weeks ago, do not be surprised for us to go down to that level. Now, while we are on this page, I want to give you guys some good news. We're closing out this gap. Guess what we did over the weekend over here? We created another gap that we formed a little bit of close here to start the day off, but take a look at this gap that we just formed this weekend. We closed last Friday at 87,100. Guess what? We opened up. We now can probably move this box to here because we did open the day and bounce back bullish just a little bit, but we still now have a gap to the upside up here at 87,100. What does this mean? I believe the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, unless we begin to break, and I'll show you some structure above us that we've been to break some resistance, do not be surprised to see the volatility continue. This is going to take me back over to this chart over here, the Bitcoin chart on Coinbase. You can see with this red line right here, we have been putting in lower highs and lower lows all the way since the highs back on January 20th. Unless we break above first 95, and then ultimately, I really think we need to get above 100K, you should be expecting volatility, right? We told you guys last week, even as we came down to these levels and started to surge back up, I told you we would probably go at least back up to 92,000. We ended up going a little bit higher. I traded along in the position, put a stop loss, raised my stop loss up here to 90K. We won that trade. But I told you if we could sustain this bullish movement, if we could get back above 100K, we're good to go to the upside. Otherwise, we would be doomed to come back down to these same lows, if not lower. And that is exactly what has happened here over the last couple of days. We're back down to those same levels. We are looking at a potential bounce coming very, very soon. In fact, I'm about to enter a long here as soon as I see structure on shorter time frames like the 1 hour, the 15-minute. I want to see some confirmation of this, but we are still in a good position right now to set up what's called bullish divergence. See how these lows on the hourly chart have gotten lower and lower, but the RSI, the MACD, the Luxago oscillator, they're all putting in higher lows. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that will be a strong bullish divergence. I want to see the volume come back in as well, and I'll feel very good about entering a trade. The question is, how high will that trade go? I'll save that for a little bit later on in the show. But what you need to know right now is to the upside, the volatility we're in, as much as I am still bullish long term, I'm not going to be singing any songs. I'm not going to be telling you guys new all-time highs coming until we're back over 100K, because that's going to break this bearish structure that we've been in now for a very, very long time. And until then, do not be surprised at all to see volatility. And in fact, there's a price level here down a little bit lower that I really think you guys should pay attention to. This is the last thing I'm going to say about Bitcoin, and we'll move on to some other things. I want to show you something on the S&P 500, and then I'm going to throw it into some conversation with Tshroom, some chat with you guys. But let's go ahead and take a look here at the daily chart and the 2-daily chart, and then we're going to the weekly charts. Why am I bullish right now? Well, I told you from last week that the daily chart was a buy signal back in here, but I said don't be surprised if there's a manipulated move back to the downside, okay? We're under a very heavy manipulation. When I look at the Luxago oscillator, while we're creating another bubble right now, what I'm seeing, green reversal, bullish momentum, we had the positive money flow and the excessive sellers leaving. That was our buy signal, right? I told you guys don't be surprised if we come back down before hitting the daily buy signal take profit level up here at the smart trail. But I told you that was in the cards as well. It looks like we're working to set that up again. But here we go. Look what we have going on. We got to get a bullish day closing, but notice how the daily candles are getting lower and lower in the candle body closes. Let me zoom in so you guys can see that a little bit better. When you're looking for divergence, always pay attention to candle closes. Don't pay attention to wicks. Pay attention to candle closes. We have already closed a daily candle, the lowest we've seen since all the way back here in November. Right? Lower than this low over here, despite the fact that when you look at the oscillators, all the oscillators are putting in higher lows. What do we call that? We call that bullish divergence. It's not just on the daily chart. We're also seeing it come in on the 2-daily chart. Let me zoom in and let you look at this. Here we go, guys. Green reversal, bullish momentum, positive money flow. Yes, we're having a little bit of a manipulated pullback, but this is giving us a target. Guess where? Back up here towards $94,000, right back in that level of resistance. This means, in case anyone has not put 2 and 2 together, this means Bitcoin easily could run back up to $94,000 and not put us back in a bullish perspective. We're still in a case where we could still be in a bear market. This could just be a nice recovery, or do we break above these red structures and make a move to the upside, right? That is the camp that we are watching right now and trying to decide, is there a bull market? Is it a bear market? We're not certain. This is where the concern comes in. I got to go all the way out to the 2-weekly chart. I talked about it this morning if you guys caught my morning stream, but I want to make sure that if you guys did not catch the morning stream, you're still aware of the problems going on here. On this 2-weekly chart, right, we had a weekly sell signal a couple of weeks ago. We told you guys that was one of the big reasons why we were talking about a move back down towards 77,000. That has been hit, right? We had these reversals. We had the bearish divergence, the red reversal, the negative momentum, the negative money flow. All of that bring us down to this smart trail target hit, right? How about the 2-weekly though? You can see here, we have not quite come back down into the 2-weekly smart trail, but this latest candle confirms the 2-weekly sell signal. Red reversal, bearish divergence, bearish momentum, and now officially the money flow has confirmed a negative pressure. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? That means I would put a high likelihood, extremely high likelihood, that we end up hitting 74 to 73,000, if not lower. The downside of this is all the way to 65, but I'm just going to sit here and focus on the highs from back in March, maybe even some of those highs from way back in November of 2021. This is going to be a zone that I feel very confident at this point. As bullish as I am, I still believe these levels can/will be hit. Why? Because of those bearish signals. Now, you might be saying, Tim, Does that mean we're just going straight down here? Since when do we ever make anything easy in the crypto markets? We are volatile all over the place, right? Anyone who sold way back up here, good for you. If you sold the top and you called that perfectly, my applause goes to you. It didn't just directly drop to these levels, though. Look at all the volatility that came throughout the process. That's why I'm saying I still would not be surprised. As much as I am saying I think 74, 73,000 is on the table, I would not be surprised whatsoever to bounce back up to 90 to 94K before it's all said and done, and then make another move to the downside before we figure it all out. We're not going to be bullish until there's a little bit more bullish certainty about what the economy looks like, about what's going to happen with quantitative easing, until we stop getting breaking news about brand new tariffs. It doesn't necessarily guarantee us we're in a bear market, but it does say, hey, until we get some clarification about what's happening, you should expect continued volatility and more than likely lower lows still coming in. Okay? I wish I didn't have to tell you that, but that is what it is. But this leads me to now the big question. A lot of you guys are going to be asking, does this mean we're in a bear market, Tim? Are you conceding we're in a bear market? Well, if Bitcoin falls to the $73,000, $74,000 level that I have referenced, that would be a collapse from the all-time highs, roughly 33, 32%. Has that ever happened before in a bull market? Well, it happened literally last year. A lot of people tried to claim we were in a bear market last year. And if you want to say we were in a bear market last year, fine, a mini bear market. Maybe we're in another mini bear market now. But of course, we all know we would go on to new highs. This wouldn't be a long-lasting bear market. But guess what? We would, over the period between March to August, 139 days. It would take 139 days for Bitcoin, or actually more, it'd take 144 days for Bitcoin to fall 33%. And yet, the bull market was not over. Well, maybe that's just a coincidence. Has that ever happened before? Well, go back to 2021. Back in 2021, during a bull market, Bitcoin fell 56%. During the altcoin season launch, Bitcoin fell 33%. During a correction phase early in the bull market, after Bitcoin had an initial rally, Bitcoin would fall 50-something% before COVID. I don't count COVID. 53%. What's my overall take here? I'm not going to keep going because I could keep going back in history and show you many 30, 40, 50% falls. That doesn't mean the bull market's over. Historically, we've seen Bitcoin can easily correct 30. Hey, Bitcoin can correct 50% and still avoid long-term bearishness. If you want to call all those mini bear markets, be my guest. But people asking, Tim, how can you be down in your Bitcoin holdings 30%, which, by the way, we're not quite down 30% yet. We're like 29 something. How can you be down 30% and still say we're in a bull market? It's because I've studied the history of Bitcoin's bull markets and the history of the bear markets. And by the way, at one point in a bear market, you are only down 30%. We could be in a bear market. That's why I'm leaving it open as a possibility. But to judge this and say automatically we have to be in a bear market because we're down 30%, that doesn't really fit the bill for a real bear market. Now, some of you might be saying, Tim, what about altcoins? Let's look at Cardano, for example. Aren't the altcoins in a bear market? I mean, some of these coins are down. Let's see how far Cardano fell during this whole process. It fell 60%. It's only down like 50% right now. But a lot of altcoins are down like 60%. Right? So people are freaking out saying, Tim, it's not the Bitcoin price that's worrying us. It's altcoins. To which I just want to show you the history of bull markets for these coins. This bull market, this time, higher highs, higher lows. Cardano last summer fell 66%. 66% to the downside. Was that the only time? Well, no. Let's go back over here. Let's look at last bull market, 2021. That's the only bull market Cardano's had other than the one we're in right now. Cardano fell back here 52% in August of 2020. Before that, if you go back to June, you take a look at this one. Cardano fell a whopping 72% before COVID. Does that mean that was a bear market? No. It means altcoins are ridiculously volatile. As a whole, if you take a look at altcoins in general, let's not even look at Ethereum. Let's just look at Total 3. Total 3 excludes all cryptocurrency except for Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? People are going to look at this and say, Tim, look how far we're down right now. We're down 37%. Weren't we just down 37% right back here? This is actually 40%. I come back over here, I look at 2021, I look at that chart right there and see that the altcoins before the top of the bull market would fall 60%. This is total 3. I look back at other volatile moments in bull markets and I see crypto can be extremely volatile and yet not be in an official altcoin season. As small as that looks, that right there is 50% pullback back here in September of 2017. What's my overall take? My overall take is some people need to pay less attention to percentages and more attention to structure. Are you in a higher high and higher low? That's the question we're asking right now. And we see that on Total 3. We see that on Bitcoin. We see that on not every altcoin, right? I am not Mr. Choose your altcoin and every altcoin is the same. Buy them and they're all going to do well. I am very particular with what altcoins I choose to buy. The ones that I like, you got Solana. For that chart, this bull market, higher highs, higher lows. I know some people are going to be a little testy about that one, but Chainlink has been extremely volatile. Absolutely. Higher highs, higher lows. Ondo, higher highs, higher lows. Cardano, higher highs, higher lows. I'm going to stop there. There's others out there I like, but you get my overall take. People that are just saying automatically this is a bear market, I understand the fear. I understand the chaos. I understand why looking at your portfolio and comparing it to a month and some change ago, it's down 50%. If you're heavily in altcoins, probably most of you, if you have Bitcoin in there as well, 30 to 40%. I get the pain. I'm not excluded. Guys, I didn't sell a single Satoshi of any crypto I own. My portfolio is down dramatically. But what I understand is when you're invested in markets like this, the volatility is a part of the game that you have to ride if you want to win in the end. And ultimately, as long as I see these bullish structures, I'm going to continue to hold. But you want to know what else? I also am choosing coins like the Bitcoins, like the Solanas, the Links, the Ondos, the Cardanos. I'm not choosing these just because of their short-term gains, right? You want a short-term gain? Find the next hot meme coin and catch it on the right day. You can make a lot of quick money. You also can lose a lot of quick money, but you can make a lot of money theoretically. I'm choosing the coins with the fundamentals to last not just this bull market, but bull markets to come. Because if this bull market ends up disappointing me, which at the moment, I think a lot of you are in that camp, this has been a very disappointing bull market. You know what? I'll just hodl on and wait for the next one. What's my strategy for no matter what happens next, whether we continue a bull market or we fall into a bear market? Hold these assets that are so stinking valuable, and yet people are acting like it's doom and gloom. People are acting like we're literally lower than we were back in 2017. The fear and greed index is just living at this point, last couple of days, in extreme fear, despite the fact that Bitcoin is still hovering above the highs of 2021. We're acting with the same fear and chaos that we acted with back here in 2022, the same fear and chaos we acted with back here in February 2019. This is a very positive sign, in my opinion. I don't think the bottom's in. I just told you, pretty sure 73, 74 is on the table. But I'm going to, rather than sell and risk that position, I'm going to continue to hodl on. I'm going to buy the dips. I bought here at 77.3. I'm going to buy more down here at 74,000. I'm going to buy more down at 65,000. And heck, if we drop all the way to 32, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy more. Why? Because when I look at the next 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, some of you don't have that long, but some of you still have 10 years easily. Tell me which one you would put more value in. Your US dollar sitting in your pocket right now, or Bitcoin, or Chainlink, or Cardano, or Solana. Which one do you think will have more value? My money, it's on crypto. That's why I'm going to continue to hodl on. That being said, a new thing, you can go off my screen now, Smay, and I did want to take a look at the stock market here in a little bit. Kind of rambled on here about crypto. Dave says Tim needs an intervention. Love it. Here's the thing. I'm going to hodl on. And I'm going to hodl all the way to the bottom and then back all the way to a new high that's going to make me a lot of money. Does that mean everybody's in that same boat? Well, it depends. Are you over leveraging crypto? We're going to say this now in every single video so that nobody can say that Tim and Tshroom and Smay led them down the road of destruction. Are you overvalued in cryptocurrency? Are you over leveraged in cryptocurrency? Do you have money sitting in crypto right now that if it went to zero, it would ruin your life? If your answer is yes, then you are overinvested. You need to take at least some of your crypto off the table. Only invest the money you can afford to lose. That being said, That doesn't mean that I think the bear market's here. That doesn't mean I'm expecting to go to 32,000 or to 10,000. I'm just saying, even if it did, I have already decided that I'm going to hodl on through all of it. And that's going to be the difference between how I sleep at night and how some of you sleep at night. If you don't mentally prepare yourself for worst case scenarios, then you will not sleep. You'll be stressed out. You'll make some really dumb decisions. But if you decide right now what your plan is, choose it right now. Is there a level? Maybe you're going to say, Tim, I'm willing to hold to 73, but I'm not willing to hold to 65. All right, either sell now, or if we get to 65, take your stop loss, get out. But decide right now, what are you willing to deal with and what are you not willing to deal with? That's going to be the difference between your success and your peace of mind and your chaos, your failure, and ultimately the loss of a whole lot more than just money. You got to be prepared for that stuff. And before I throw it to Tshroom and have some discussion, get his takes on what's going on, I wanted to show you guys the stock market. I showed you guys this morning, but there was something that was interesting brought to my attention during our VIP trading group that I do want to show you guys as an interesting level. We keep talking about the Bitcoin CME futures gap, but what about the S&P 500? You guys know that those have them as well. You can see some pretty blatant ones on the chart that have been filled. Like this one set back on this one actually was November 5th, November 8th. Or November 5th, because it closed down, didn't open back up till the 6th. Oh, that's a weird thing that we did that. See that massive gap right there? Notice what happened in the dip, the correction of January. We came down right into that gap and then bounced back to the upside. Created a couple more gaps up to the upside and filled those as well. But what's my overall point here? Take a look at this yellow box. Take a look where we just came down to. This was a little bit of a hidden gap. But technically speaking, you go back over here to September 18th. We closed the day on the S&P 500 down here towards 55,618. We open up the next day, 18th, we open up the next day all the way up here at $5,700. Now, we would correct a little bit, come back down towards 56, but the overall point, guess where the stock market has come down to today? Look where it's wicked and kind of bounced up here a little bit. We had, and I'm not saying the stock market is done falling, I'm just saying maybe is this a short-term bottom for the S&P 500 because it came down to fill a long-term gap where there were orders that were not filled. Make sure you guys are aware of that. Again, we could have a lot further to go to the downside. We could have just a little bit go to the downside. Don't be surprised, though, with the volatility in both the stock market and the crypto space, with the composite man manipulating price up and down to affect your emotions. I'm gonna now settle into a position I said a couple of weeks ago, and I'm now going to say, you know what? This is my final straw until I get better news, until I get quantitative easing and whatnot. Don't be surprised if we are volatile. There will be days where you think the bull market's back. There will be days where you're convinced the bear market's taking us down to 30K. What is this? It's a shakeout move to both directions to get rid of the weak-handed retail investors so that the rich can buy the dips and get richer. The poor miss out and cry about it later. You don't cry about it. Hodl on. Continue to hodl on if you can afford to do so. And eventually, next month, next year, next 10 years, the benefits will outweigh all of the risk and the months of red portfolios to the downside. Real quick, we are definitely getting a bounce here while I'm talking live. Bitcoin back up over 79K. Let me look at some of these small time frames. Did I get my signals that I wanted for some good buys? Definitely got some bullish divergence here on 5 minutes. Let me see out here. Did we confirm the 1 hour yet? I think it's going to take a little bit of time to confirm our 1 hour bullish divergence, but we do have the beginning stages of it. You're also going to see that bubble that's forming here with the money flow. Does look on the 1 hour chart like it wants to pop here soon. What about the 30 minute? 30 minutes kind of in a similar boat. Not quite a bubble necessarily. What about the 15 minute? There we go. 15 minute does look like it's wanting to pop the bubble. Not going to give us a major rally upside. We're only looking up here to 80,000 once again. But if we can start to develop these bullish signals on the 1 hour, and what we're watching this morning that didn't quite launch, the 4 hour chart is going to be very interesting here. We got the green reversals. We got the bullish divergence. We got the positive momentum and the positive money flow. We have the beginnings of the positive money flow. We need to see that money flow close back above that thin red threshold, that thin red line. All of a sudden, buy signal flashes. We're talking about Bitcoin coming back up here towards 87, 88. Guess where that camp was? That's that CME gap to the upside. I'll go back over here. CME gap up here to the upside on the daily chart. That's a target to keep an eye on. After that, then can we get back on the right track with the daily chart and getting that buy signal to flash? And all of a sudden, we're talking 92, 94K before we have a decision to make later on. So that being said, I am not going to give up my prediction of 74,000 until Bitcoin's back above 100K. That is my conditions. Bitcoin goes above 100K, 74 is off the table. But if we only make it back to 94, 95,000, I am not going to give up the thought that I think 74K looks like an extremely likely scenario over the next couple of weeks. Which one will we hit first, though? 74 or 90K? Tshroom, I'm going to take a break. I was going to say get a sip of water, but once again, I didn't bring my drink into the room, so that's a problem.
You're just so locked in on those charts, you forget that hydration is key. Well, we got a super chat here from none other than Davy Cakes saying, I was wrong. We still need to hit 75K, 120K in May. And I have to say, Davy Cakes, I was surprised for you to give up on 75K so quickly. But, there you go. Sometimes you're wrong.
Here's the thing, Davey Cakes, you had very good intuition. And again, I'm learning this lesson all over again. I cannot tell you how many times I've actually made, and I don't like the word perfect, and perfect's not the word. I can't tell you how many times I've made a very good call about where I think the markets are going and all the volatility, but then something comes up and it makes me change my mind and I give up on those predictions. And then I realized later, I was like, man, if I just stuck to my original prediction. That's why now I'm predicting 74. I'm going to hold on to it. I think there's so much reason 74K is going to be hit. But even if we start to rally and go back towards 90K and people are screaming from the rooftops that we're bullish once again, at this point, as bullish as I am, I need to see the real evidence and reason for a true bull market to come back. I need to see QE. I need to see massive institutional adoption, which we see them scooping up. We see them buying these little dips, but we don't see them scooping up masses. When I see that, that'll change my mind, and I'll guarantee you the bottom is in. But for now, I don't think the bottom is in, even though I'm very bullish.
Davey Cake said he sold 75%, presumably of his Bitcoin, at 101,000, and then picked up at 79.
Good move.
Good swing. Good swing there. Broz, the narrative of Q1 2025 so far has been Donald Trump's tariff policies, and they're not over. We've got a huge CNBC article. We're going to dive into this one, and we will get the digest. Donald Trump says a transition period for the economy is likely. You can't really watch the stock market. Boy, there's a lot to uncover here. There's a couple of different voices we'll hear from. We're going to start with Donald Trump himself. He said this on Sunday with Fox News. He said, there is a period of transition because what we're doing is very big. It's huge. Sunday morning future, we're bringing wealth back to America. That's a big thing. It takes a little time, but I think it should be great for us. Asked whether he thinks a recession is imminent, Trump said, I hate to predict things like that. Look, we're going to have disruption, but we're okay with that. We, meaning the Trump administration, not the investing bros. We're not okay with that, but he's okay with that. He's also said, what I have to do is build a strong country. You can't really watch the stock market. Interesting words there. A lot to pick apart, but it doesn't stop there. The Treasury Secretary chimes in here. He says, there's going to be a natural adjustment as we move away from public spending to private spending, Bessett said Friday. The market and the economy have just become hooked, and we've become addicted to this government spending, and there's going to be a detox period. And then we hear from the Commerce Secretary, said there are a lot of reasons to be extremely bullish about the economy going forward. He said, but for sure this quarter, there are some blips in the data, including negative GDP, which are related both to the Biden inheritance and some timing effects that are happening ahead of tariffs. Speaking Sunday to NBC's Meet the Press, I know this is a lot, but stick with us here. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said there's going to be no recession in America. If Donald Trump is bringing growth to America, I would never bet on recession, no chance. So we heard from all three there. We heard from Trump. We heard from Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, and we also heard from the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. The tone overall is brace yourselves. This is going to be bumpy, right? Mm-hmm. But Tshroom and Tim, we've been coming on live here, Investing Bros, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, weekdays, and saying, yes, the macroeconomic environment has changed. what Donald Trump is doing, coming in and threatening the tariffs, implementing the tariffs, taking off the tariffs, it has created chaos in the macroeconomic environment. Big banks, big funds are hesitant to deploy new capital. In fact, they recoil, they retract, right?
Mhm.
And that causes asset prices to come down. But has the underlying value of NVIDIA, of Bitcoin, of Apple, of Ethereum, has any of those changed? Are people stopped buying iPhones? Are people stopped valuing Bitcoin as a store of value and the future of gold? No. If anything, bigger and bigger voices, people with more and more money, are starting to come to the conclusion that Bitcoin is amazing. And they're looking at everybody around them on the train station and saying, okay, nobody's stopping buying iPhones. Apple's going to be good. NVIDIA's going to be good. Google's going to be good. These assets are getting a repricing phase right now because of the macroeconomic environment. Tim, did any of these words from the Trump administration, key economic figures, ring true to you?
I think what's going to be really important to kind of process here is nobody really knows what's going to happen, but that's part of the reason why I'm actually kind of bullish. And I'm going to give a different take. They keep saying like Sachs said no recession. I'll be honest with you. Even though the economy's done very well and the stock market has continued to go to the upside, that's a figure of data. America has had a recession going on for quite some time that we're not quite out of. And even there's a level of what Trump is saying that I can appreciate. Now, I don't love the part where he says, I'm not even paying attention to the stock market. Don't pay attention to the stock market. Like, no, people are going to pay attention to the stock market. That's going to be massive. Again, as a channel who we sit here and we trade the markets and we're trying to buy the lows and sell the tops to the best of our ability. And then, for the long-term holds, get the best buying positions we can. We got to look at the markets and understand what's happening here. But I think there's something that he's kind of trying to get at here is that he realizes, and a lot of people in America know this, numbers can be misleading, and we have a very fragile and broken system that we've built on for quite some time. And so while we've seen the stock market continue to go in price, and even Bitcoin made its way up over 100K here recently, you look at the debt that's facing America. We're looking at the fraud that's being exposed right now by the DOJ, Department of Government Efficiency. We're looking at the different systems that America has been polluted by. And what he's saying almost is, this won't tell you everything by looking at the stock market. If you want to look at the health and the future of America, sometimes you got to do some things that are kind of painful. It's kind of like when you break your leg, okay? And let's say it's a pretty nasty break, like bones out of skin, everything, just gross stuff. Is that a fun and painless procedure to fix that leg? Heck no, it's not. That concept of putting that bone back in place might be as painful as the time it broke in the first place. The truth is, when you broke in the first place, you might have had a little adrenaline pumping. So you actually can make the statement, it might be more painful to break the leg or to fix the broken leg and put it back into place than it was breaking it in the first place, right? We have a broken economy. For the sake of, we wanted to pacify the civilians here and now. We wanted to talk about like, hey, let's just fix and make sure people can buy food tonight. And let's make sure the stock market doesn't crash tonight. And we've done all these things that have created a very broken, recession, fearful economy. And ultimately what Trump is saying is, we're going to have to break this before it gets a lot better. So is he potentially preparing us for a recession? Well, a lot of predictors out there are saying that. If you look at a lot of banks and you look at a lot of different economic gurus, there be. I mean, we're just YouTubers right here. I'm not this professional that's studied the stock market for 30 plus years. I've studied it. I've gone back and looked at a lot of history. And one thing I've noticed is you don't ever see recessions after there's been months of fear mongering about recessions. Okay. That doesn't happen. They often come when everyone feels extremely excited and bullish about how things are going. Does that feel at all like what's happening right now? Not at all. But one thing I've noticed, again, I'm not saying we don't go a little lower because I do think we do. But this concept that people are afraid that we're about to enter some massive economic crash. I've never once seen the history books talk about people predicting and getting these recessions correctly. I've never seen the average retail investor responding in fear and timing it just right to avoid massive financial distress. In fact, what happens most times when a recession hits is people are at a euphoria. Markets are at all-time highs. Everyone says we're so bullish, everything's going to be okay. And it's not until a massive, massive crash, which we have not seen, a massive crash happens that people all of a sudden realize there's a lot of trouble coming. What I see right now is honestly a great manipulative move to shake out retail investors, to prepare a way for the stock market and for whales to buy up massive amounts of supply of the emerging technology, the future of how money's going to transact, the future of how storage of good, like how your value is going to be protected in Bitcoin. They want an excuse to buy those supplies at cheap levels. So what's the number one way to do that? Yes, have suppressive shorting of the price market. Scare the crap out of retail investors. But you know what? You on top of that is, as the prices are now down significantly, now start to promote all of the fear, all of the chaos. Get the articles out there that say, hey, recession might be on the way. I can't think of a better strategy to convince retail investors to sell and run for the hills than that layout right there. And that's what we're watching unfold right now in the markets.
Yeah. I think that it is painful for some people, especially folks who are just getting into investing within the last year, heck, within the last 3 years. You may have just kept buying and seeing that number go up, 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 up. And now you're starting to see it move in a different direction. There is definitely some experienced investors out there who are also feeling the pain. As Tim shared earlier, we're looking at our portfolios. The number's not going up for us, right? The number is going down. So how are we able to remain so calm and composed? Why are there people in the chat right now in this live video? They're bullish. They're wanting lower prices so that they can buy lower. The key principle is experience. We've been through this before. Investors have been doing this since time immemorial, since the East Indian Trade Company, since the first corporation, since the first investment opportunities, right? There's people who have experience and there's people who do not have experience. And the people with experience understand that patience is the number one skill. And patience here is really key because as I've already said, but it's important to reiterate, is that nothing has changed about these underlying assets, about Bitcoin, about Microsoft, about Tesla. Nothing has changed, right? Didn't discover that all Teslas are actually terrible vehicles and now Tesla's going into bankruptcy. That's not the case. Teslas are still selling at all-time records across the world, right? And the same with Bitcoin. Its hash rates are at all-time highs, right? There's other pieces to the story other than price, but price is what causes the emotion. So if you're feeling very emotional, it's not a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, though, the amount of experience that you have can help to diminish that negative emotion. And which you actually, and a lot of experienced investors will be able to relate to this, it actually also mutes the positive emotion to the upside, which is an interesting effect. But the point is that if you're feeling emotional, it's normal, right? Don't feel that you're a weak person because you're feeling emotional. It's normal, right? But what isn't normal is to buy high and sell low, right? That's not what you want to do in these markets. It's not what I'm doing. It may seem irrational. It may seem silly to keep buying lower and lower prices, but it isn't, right? Remember, the key maxim is buy low, sell high. Are you buying assets lower than the first time you bought them because you're down on them? You're still buying low in anticipation of selling high, right? Now, could we go lower? Yes. As we just saw with this article here from CNBC, Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump, right? Their plan to save American economy is going to come with some pain, right? So, bear with it. Just keep coming back to channels like this where there's folks with a lot of experience, a lot more than us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Tim and I have been through multiple cycles, and we've seen how this plays out. And, we're just really glad. We're very blessed that we're able to come on here and help reassure folks who've made the best decision to be able to buy Bitcoin and to buy the top 50 cryptos that will come back and make a lot of people very wealthy.
Yeah, I think another thing to kind of be prepared for here, and I'm going to read the poll here. We put a poll in chat. This is one of the more bearish responses to a poll that we have seen from the Investing Bros channel in a while, right? We're a pretty strongly bullish community. I think a lot of people that watch us and take part in our daily content have remained bullish despite all of it. But I asked you guys, are you tired of crypto, right? And over 1,200 of you have voted. 45% saying never, right? So we still have this very resilient, strong, bullish community. Again, I'm in that camp. I put never. I told you guys already, I would ride Bitcoin to 10K. I'd ride it to zero. I'm going to ride my cryptocurrency zero. That's how much I believe in them. But I also asked, who of you sold a while ago? 9% of you are saying you sold a while ago. 46% are saying not yet, but I'm close. So that means this is the first time that we've gone under 50% on who is bullish in the space. 9% of you are all out bearish. 46% of you are at your breaking points. What I've noticed is that crypto has a fantastic way of figuring out where people's breaking points are. And by the way, this isn't just crypto. The stock market's good at this as well. Market makers are phenomenal at figuring out where is your breaking point. What will cause you to stop buying? What will cause you to capitulate? More often than not, those are the levels, the price levels that they take it down to get rid of you so that they, the market makers and their buddies, can buy a dip and start a brand new fresh bull run. Okay? That is just a very common market take on how things work. With that said, though, I see a lot of people in chat. It seems we have a couple extra bears in here today, which, by the way, I love people giving their opinion in chat. Love it, love it, love it. If you have a critique of me or Tshroom or Smay, love it. I'm not going to sit here on a little ivory chair and refuse to be critiqued or corrected. You guys are more than happy, more than welcome to tell us what you disagree with. What's not going to happen in chat is when you guys insult and disrespect not just us, because again, I can take an insult. I don't care. I grew up with a really rough childhood where I was used to being teased and made fun of a lot. I don't care. But you're definitely not going to talk to each other in a disrespectful or insulting way. This is going to be a community where we uplift and encourage, but also have honest, real disagreements and conversations. So if everybody in here, if you disagree with me and Tshroom, love it. You're welcome to stay here. Come to our free Discord. Give us your takes. Educate us from your perspective on why this market is not going to maintain its bull market phase and it's already entered into a bear market. I love, love, love it. But again, please keep it respectful. Please keep it encouraging and keep it on a level that we can have healthy debates, not just scream at each other and call each other a bunch of names. Like that's just never going to make it in this community. With that said, there was something else I wanted to say here, but we're never going to engage with chat here. We will have a factoid of the day today with Smay, but that's coming up just a little bit later. Seth Sherry said, be nice to everyone. You never know what someone may be going through. There is more to life than crypto bags. Seth, you're 100% right. 100% right. That is something that I'm mindful every single day. You know, Tshroom and I have maintained bullish perspective. Crux is bullish. Who knows what Smay is? Smay, how are you feeling right now? You bullish? You bearish? Come up for a second. Say hi to the people.
Yeah. Wow.
All right. Well, thank you, Smay.
Smay's excited for that factoid.
We're not under any disillusion that this market is scary to people. As Tshroom said, we've ridden a lot of these scary movements. Tshroom, can you remind people where your first Bitcoin purchase was? What was the date and what was the price action?
Ooh. It was at the top of the 2021 bull market, right? So I bought probably around 69,000. Was the very first time I bought. And the good thing is that I had a good amount of stock market experience under my wing, right? So I knew enough to keep buying Bitcoin. And so now, my average entry is south of 40, right? Which is nice for Bitcoin. Now, a lot of that has to do with I've branched out and bought a lot of MicroStrategy and other Bitcoin proxies. But yeah, when the going is going to get tough in investing. The going is going to get tough in life, right? Usually giving up and quitting what you have been convicted is the best thing for you is usually not the right way to go. Sometimes you can be convicted about the wrong thing, right? So there's exceptions. And sometimes you need to quit. Sometimes quitting is the right thing. But usually quitting your convictions is not the right thing.
Right. And an overall take, the reason I'm asking you that question, Tshroom, and thank you for that, because that's what I was going to say next, is what you just talked about. The bros know the pain. Okay, we have bought highs and sold lows, but you know what you do when you realize you made the wrong purchase? You ask yourself, do you still believe in this asset long term? And if you do, you don't sell at the loss. You buy more to lower that entry point. Just like Tshroom said, he bought up somewhere in the 60s back in November, December area of 2021, right? He bought in the 60s. He could have sold down at 20,000, 30,000, but instead he bought more to it to lower that average price. That's how we operate. But we know the pain. We understand the fear. We understand that concept of that is your hard-earned money that you worked very, very hard to get, and you put into an asset expecting quick returns, all for it to plummet back down. And all of a sudden, maybe your $10,000 you invested, it just became 10,000. Or that, that 10,000 that became, you just became like 5,000, or that 20,000 just became 10,000, or that 100K that just became 50,000. We understand the pain of that. But we also can tell you is the minute that pain gets unbearable, if you're able to hold on, if you're able to just muscle through that pain, more often than not, you are a lot closer to that sunrise than you would think. If you're not able to maintain that, though, and I'm going to say this over and over and over again, so get used to it. If you're not able to handle that pain and you've invested more than you can afford to lose, get out. At least take some of your money out. It is not worth the crypto gains. And as much as I think they're coming, crypto gains are not worth prolonged periods of unable to sleep. They're not worth a family stress where potentially you and your loved one, your significant other, are considering ending your relationship, to where you're not able even to look at your kids in the eyes because you're so worried about being a failure with the finances that you have. That's not worth it. It's not worth it to stay in cryptocurrency and experience those things. So if that describes you, if you're living in fear, if you haven't slept in 2 weeks, if you're concerned because you have a big bill coming up and you're expecting some quick returns, but you're not going to be able to pay that bill unless you take money out, take the money out. Okay? That is just as simple as it gets. And I'm not here to mock you or make fun of you. We have all made foolish decisions in our life. But the difference that defines how you will make it long term is not if you did or didn't make a failure or did or didn't make a successful move. It's how do you respond to realizing that you made a bad move? How do you respond to your failure? No, this isn't just some peewee football talk. This is real life. One of the reasons I love sports is because all those cliche talks that coaches give you, if you actually listen to the perseverance that sports teach you, you realize it applies to much more than just sports. That's the same thing here in crypto. The same exact thing here in crypto. If you can hodl on, you're going to be good. But if you need to step away, if you realize you made a mistake with your investment, don't try to wrong one wrong with another one. With that said, let's go ahead and get out here and we're going to get into a factoid of the day here for a second. Michael Allen said, Tim, I am not taking out. You can't make me. Stop yelling. Stop telling me to take it out. I will eat top ramen before I take it out. Sure. If you can afford ramen, go for it. Listen, if you can afford a good wife, all of my single men and women out there, when you choose a spouse, choose a good one. There's a reason why marriage is such a big thing. I have the very lucky position. Last story here, and then we'll transition to Smay. My wife today, she saw the title. This is like right before we're live, like 20 minutes before we're live. She saw the title. She's like, should I sell now? Or she saw the thumbnail. And she's like, you're not selling, are you? And I was like, no, that's just the title. And we're going to talk about how to, position yourself. And she's like, well, good. Like you bought, right? And I was like, yes, I bought. And she's like, what's the price at now? It's like $78,000. She's like, oh, well, we should buy more then. I'm like, okay, calm down, Taylor. Like, we're handling this correctly. But that's what I deal with on day. Like, I get yelled at because I'm not buying enough cryptocurrency. Some of you aren't in that fortunate. Find a spouse. If you're single right now, find a spouse that yells at you because you didn't buy enough cryptocurrency. That's my recommendation for you. All right, let's bring up Smay here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. If you are leaving because you don't like the factoid of the day, that's sad. Stay for the factoid of the day, but make sure on the way out to smash that like button. And if you're not subscribed to the channel and you did hear some things in the show that resonate with you and encourage you, join the community. Subscribe to the channel and then go join our free Discord. You're not going to regret it. Smay, anything you want to say to the people before we do this factoid of the day?
Yeah, I want to say, what the heck, guys? Why would you not want to watch the factoid of the day? Come on. It's the best part of the show. And also, you guys should be checking out that free Discord where we get to talk about all the great things like cryptocurrency and if it's up or down. All right, with that, let's jump into the factoid of the day, brought to you by Decrypted.tax. This one is Bitcoin themed. What unusual thing did a U.S. federal agency do with confiscated Bitcoin? A, destroyed it. to prevent further use. B, gave it away to random citizens. C, auctioned it off like seized property. Or D, used it to fund an undercover sting operation.
I'm going to go Charlie. I think it's C. I think that's what they did. That's what the U.S. government did. So
Yeah, they definitely didn't do A or B.
yeah,
I could see D as a realistic. I could see them funding an undercover sting operation with it.
I don't think we would know about that.
Yeah,
I don't
but
think that
yet
would be a
maybe the
public
Factoid Elf does know. Maybe the Factoid Elf has access to private national security information that you
It's
don't
possible.
know about, May
It's
or
possible.
Tshroom.
In which case, that would be a very difficult factoid.
I want it to be D. Tshroom said C. I'm willing to be wrong here. I'm going D. Going with D here. I'd be very surprised if it's A or B.
And with that, everybody.
There we go.
Let's go.
Good job.
Let's see. In hindsight, this was for last week, and I looked at it as I was reading the answers. It's one of those things you gotta say it out loud, because I was reading these things, I was like, none of them make any sense except for C. So this one was a layup for you guys. So
I think it's D makes sense, but I think it's more likely it was C. But I wanted to make sure I can't let the elf win, May.
right,
Like Tshroom and I
right.
have to divide and conquer here.
You can't
Matt
let
C.
them win like the Steelers won't this year. Am I right?
Yeah,
because
true.
we
Matt
won't.
C said that Tim Draper bought the seized Bitcoin in the auction.
Well, there you go. Matt C knows
Makes
things.
It makes sense.
Very good. Yeah. Someone wanted to remind us here. I'm going to scroll back up in chat. The 12th, this Wednesday, 2 days from now, we will get inflation data, right? That'll have a major impact on how markets respond. Again, what I'm kind of watching here, do not be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, about the volatility that we've been through, right? And I think that volatility is going to continue. Don't celebrate like the bull market is officially back just because we get back to or above 90K, right? It's really not until you get back over 100K at this point until we can be rejoicing about bull markets. If we fall straight from here down to 74, well, guess what? 74 is a level that I do expect to be hit. The question just is, what comes between there? Do we go straight to 74? Do we go up to 91st? Do we shoot through 74K and just go ahead and head straight for 65? These are things nobody knows, but I'll tell you this right now. Continue to learn your technical analysis. Continue to pay attention to the news. Continue to think for yourself as well, though. Learn how to process what the charts are telling you, but also what are the news media outlets trying to get you to do. Learn how manipulation works. Learn how to realize when something's factual and when something is misdirecting. That is going to be the difference between you being a failure of an investor and a successful investor. But you know what the best strategy is? Just continue to hodl and buy the dip. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. Love you. Adios.